The longship cut through the black, icy waters of the fjord, its dragon-headed prow a stark silhouette against the moonlit cliffs. My name is Eric, and this is the story of my last voyage, a tale whispered only in the dead of night, for to speak of it in daylight is to invite the shadows to linger. We were a hardy crew, returning from a raid in the west, our holds heavy with silver and silk, our hearts full of songs and boasts. But the North Sea is a fickle mistress, and she had one last trial for us. A storm, sudden and violent, had driven us off course. For days we were tossed by waves as tall as mountains, the sky a perpetual bruised purple. When the tempest finally broke, we found ourselves in an unfamiliar fjord, a place of unnerving silence. The air was unnervously still, the water like black glass, reflecting a sky the color of old bone. Jagged peaks clawed at the clouds on either side, their slopes thick with ancient pines that seemed to watch us with 1,000 unseen eyes. Our Jarl Bjorn Ironhide, a man who feared neither god nor beast, ordered us to make landfall. We were low on fresh water, and our spirits were lower still. We beached the Serpent's Kiss on a shore of dark, smooth stones. The forest edge was a wall of impenetrable shadow, and an unnatural quiet hung in the air. No birds sang, no insects chirped. The only sound was the gentle lapping of water against the hull and the crunch of our boots on the stones. We made camp, building a fire that spat and hissed, as if reluctant to burn in this place. The flames cast long dancing shadows that played tricks on the eye. As night deepened, a mist rolled in from the water, thick and cold, smelling of damp earth and something else, something ancient and decayed. It swirled around our camp, muffling sound, isolating each of us in our own small circle of flickering light. That's when we first heard it, a sound from deep within the woods. It wasn't the cry of a wolf or the grunt of a bear. It was a low, guttural chittering, a wet, clicking sound that seemed to crawl up the spine. We gripped our axes, our eyes scanning the tree line, but the mist was a curtain, hiding whatever lurked beyond. Bjorn laughed it off as the wind playing tricks, but I saw the unease in his eyes, the way his hand never strayed from the hilt of his sword. We posted sentries and tried to find rest, but sleep was a skittish deer that night. I lay wrapped in my furs, listening. The chittering would stop for long stretches, and just as you'd begin to relax, it would start again, closer this time. Then came another sound, a soft, rhythmic scraping. It sounded like claws on rock, a patient, persistent scratching that echoed from the cliffs above. The first man to vanish was Olaf the Swift. His post was by the forest's edge. One moment we heard his sharp cut-off cry, and the next, silence. We rushed to his position, torches held high. There was no sign of a struggle, no tracks but his own leading into the mist. It was as if the forest had simply swallowed him whole. Panic, a cold and slippery thing, began to coil in our bellies. Bjorn, ever the rock, tried to keep morale high. A wolf, perhaps, he boomed, his voice a little too loud. Or he wandered off, the fool. We'll find him at dawn. But we all knew. You don't become a Viking without learning to read the signs. and every sign in this cursed fjord screamed of wrongness. The second night was worse. The mist returned, thicker than before, and with it the sounds. The chittering was all around us now, a chorus of nightmare insects. The scraping from the cliffs grew louder, more frantic. We huddled closer to the fire, back to back, axes in hand, our faces pale in the firelight. No one slept. We just waited, listening to the world being unmade around us. Leaf, a young warrior on his first raid, started to weep silently, tears tracking paths through the grime on his face. I didn't blame him. I felt the same primal fear gnawing at my own courage. Then, through the mist, we saw movement, tall, spindly shapes, half hidden in the gloom. They were unnaturally thin, with limbs that bent at impossible angles. They moved with a jerky, insect-like gait, their heads lolling on long, stalk-like necks. They didn't attack. They just watched from the edge of the firelight, their forms shifting and blurring in the swirling fog. We could hear them breathing wet, rattling sound, like water being forced through a sieve. The chittering came from them, a language of clicks and rasps that made the teeth ache. Bjorn had seen enough. With a roar that shook the very stones, he charged, his great axe held high. For Valhalla, he bellowed. A few of the bravest men charged with him, their war cries sounding thin and desperate in the oppressive silence. They vanished into the mist. We heard the clash of steel, a single defiant roar from Bjorn, and then a wet, tearing sound, followed by a sickening crunch, and then silence once more. The creatures and our Jarl were gone. We broke. Fear shattered our shield wall. We ran. We scrambled back to the longship, slipping and falling on the dark stones, the chittering laughter of those things echoing behind us. We didn't care about the silver, the silk, or the lost honor. We just wanted to feel the sea beneath us again, to escape this haunted land. As we pushed the serpent's kiss back into the black water, I looked back at the shore. Through a break in the mist, I saw them. They were dragging the bodies of our comrades into the woods, and I saw their faces. They had no eyes, no noses, just wide, gaping mouths filled with rows of needle-like teeth. Their skin was pale and translucent like a grub's, and it clung to their impossibly long bones. We rowed like madmen, our oars pulling us away from that nightmare coast. As the fjord opened up to the sea, the mist began to thin, and the first hints of dawn painted the eastern sky. We had survived, but we were not the same men who had landed there. We were ghosts, haunted by the memory of chittering sounds and things that moved in the fog. I am an old man now. My hands are gnarled, my back bent. The fires of my youth have long since cooled to embers. But sometimes, on the darkest nights, when the wind whispers through the pines and a cold mist rolls in from the sea, I can still hear it, the chittering, the scraping, and I remember the silent fjord and the things that walk in the dark. And I pray to any god who will listen that they remain there in their cold, quiet corner of the world. Now rest. Let the darkness be a blanket, not a fear. Let the silence be a comfort, not a warning. Sleep and dream of open seas and clear skies. The watch is kept. You are safe. Sleep now.